Welcome. Welcome back to Still Woke News. I'm Rain Snell. Just call me Rain. And I thank you if you listened uh, on Friday, which was the first official day. So listen, guys. Getting right to the point. I need for you to share, like, if you're benefiting from my commentary at all, or just the recap of the news of the day or of the week. I'm here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening. I'm not saying a specific time because on IG I need to now have 1,000 followers in order to go live. So I'm just saying, like, if you watch me and you enjoy me and you feel like, hey, this should be able to go live, go further, she's cute, I like her lip gloss. I don't care. But whatever choice you make, so let it be. Please, follow and share. Hit the heart. On If you are looking at this on YouTube, you know what to do. You got to hit the like, you have to hit the subscribe. They are free. Like every time I watch my YouTubers, my Instagrammers, the moment that it comes on, if there's a heart, I hit the heart. If there's a like, I hit the like. The moment it comes on, especially after I've seen like a couple episodes and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be watching this, right? So the moment it comes on, I do that because it's free. You can't get nothing for free. You can't, but you can get more updated. Like, it allows us to afford more resources. It allows our names and our shows to get out there, um to just grow. I mean, these things are free, guys. They're free. Okay? I think you understand. So that's the reason why I can't give you, like, oh, it's going to be 6 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the evening, because I have to upload these videos and it takes forever. Okay? It takes forever. So I don't know what time you're gonna see it. I'm on Mountain Time, right next to Pacific. I'm an hour bef no, an hour later than Pacific, right? I am 2 hours. No, 1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour earlier than Central, and 2 hours earlier, yes, than the East Coast. All right. But this would be a lot easier if I could go live. I'm just saying. And as we can see, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So, you know, um, I I look forward to the day when I can come on here and start with something else other than Donald Trump and the United States, but it would be remiss of me to just skip over that. I can't skip over that, right? So, again, I have my assistant. Her name is Gemini. She's really cheap and good. But just to remind me, right, of what I want to touch upon. So, um, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. We're talking about the U.S. and Venezuela. Now, before I begin with any details, I want to kind of give you a quick sentence for each side of this situation. So the MAGA Republicans are saying that we are not at war. That it's not a war, but it's like a law enforcement strike because there's nobody like MAGA and Trump's administration that cares more about following the law. There's nobody like MAGA and the Trump administration that cares more about adhering to the letter of the law. So so now the United States, I suppose, is the police of the world, or at least the Western Hemisphere, until the Eastern Hemisphere has something that we want really bad. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute, right? Because so we wake up, we go through the weekend. I'm talking about you and I, okay, and I try to give myself a break from anything anything really important going on over the weekend. I mean, that's not going to always be the case. I will not always have that choice because I'm dedicated to bringing you like what's real. But for now, right, we go through the weekend and then Monday comes and or Sunday, of course, and we wake up to some other form of debauchery, right? So there have been so many things said about this particular strike that the United States pulled on Venezuela. Of course, you may know, I'm sure, but if you don't know, right? Number one, we took Nicolas Maduro, right? Um, we took Nicolas Maduro, who stole, who stole the vote, right? Um, and who is like, the big boogeyman of Venezuela. He is accused of many things. He is accused of, being being sort of the antichrist, right? Uh, that is wrong with Venezuela and its people not being served in a fair way. Um, the U.S. has talked about, and when I say the U.S., I mean the government, because nobody's listening to what the citizens say anymore. So, our government has brought up drugs again. There's been no evidence of the particular kinds of drugs that Trump says is destroying America. I mean, listen, any drug can destroy a country. I mean, there's not, there are some, of course, that are doing a quicker and better job at doing that, right? To people who have addiction problems, have trauma problems, need to heal and don't know how to heal, right? Um, we would like for you to do it in a healthier way. But let's not just blame one drug on this, right? Let's blame addiction, the need of healing, right? The need of professional help, right? So there's been talk about that, and I just want to read a little bit here, of kind of what's in the news, right? Geopolitics, right? So geo always indicates the land, right? The ousting of Nicolas Maduro, the biggest global story, is the aftermath of a weekend U.S. military raid in Caracas, Venezuela. Capture and arraignment, okay, former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, right? So Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores are both being arraigned in the United States. Okay. Um, they were captured by U.S. forces and are scheduled to be arraigned in a Manhattan federal court today, which is Monday. Okay. Maduro faces charges of narco terrorism and otherwise terrorism due to drug trafficking, right? Um, and conspiracy to import cocaine. Okay. Da, 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 da. So they are here. Now, here is something that really it really pissed Donald Trump off today. He has Truth Social, which, it's so funny. I have to tell you guys, stay off your phones late at night especially when I get sleepy. My body and brain just like it gets ready to go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like so many people I know say you are so lucky because when that moment comes when my body says it's time to sleep, I'm going to sleep. It's very unusual for me to not be able to sleep, right? So so stay off your phones if you're like me. So I remember this was like maybe about it was 2025, but like 6 months ago. I'm lying in bed, and usually I will have my iPad with me, which I know there are people like, no, you shouldn't do that. I know what's best for me, and you know what's best for you. Okay, all right. So I at this particular time, I believe I had taken a break from Instagram or completely deleted that account. I mean, I've deleted an account that had 4,000 followers. Like, that's just who I am. Like, I'm not over here living and loving and crying and eating over followers. What's important about this platform is that I feel that it's good to have your average American talk about what's going on. And it's so meaningful to me, right, that this platform and Rain's Creative Soul, where I spiritually work with mostly women, but through readings and mentoring, just a little bit of my own sponsorship. But these are things that are really dear to my heart. but still, I'm not going to like have a day of mourning over a social media platform, you know. But anyway, reel it on back, Rain. So I was looking for something new, and I found Blue Sky. A former neighbor told me about Blue Sky, and I am on Blue Sky, but to be honest with you, I don't go on Blue Sky. I've put like maybe two or three things on there, but I don't know. I have to admit that Instagram always pulls me back. Always pulls me back. I don't know what it is. I'm very into aesthetics of things, marketing, like look, the colors. There's something about Instagram that I love. Right. So anyway, at this point where I'm saying put your phone down if you're sleepy. Okay. So I'm like, there's gotta be something else. There's gotta be something else, something more real. And I go on the app store and I see Truth Social. Now I had no idea. I had no idea what it was. I'm thinking Truth and Social. I'm all, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm about this. I'm about this. Okay. So I join with like one eye closed. You know what I'm saying? I joined. And then I just, I'm too sleepy to really post anything, but I wanted to just go on and see what people were saying. And that's when I realized I was on Donald Trump's platform. You should have seen how quickly I woke up. I mean, I had my phone and I was like, wait, how do I delete my, and I was already getting like these notices. I was already getting these notices, right? And I'm like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, da, 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 da. Well, finally, I wasn't able to do it that night, and I didn't get as deep a sleep as I usually get because I was like, I just don't believe I didn't know that. But that's why I say, you know what I'm saying? If you have too much to drink, which is rarely ever my problem now, like I'm so grown up and I don't like the feeling of being outside of myself like that. I do enjoy wine, which is something that is still special to me. Uh, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, doesn't have to be a special occasion, but, it's kind of rare that I, give that to myself. But when I get sleepy, it's like a drug. And I was like, girl, put the phone down. Put the phone down because you have messed up now. So I didn't figure out how to delete myself from it that night. But the next day, which I think was a Sunday, which is my day of rest, okay, my day of rest, I, I figured it out and I got off of there. But, it's so funny. After I did delete myself, delete the account, uh, I laughed, and it seems like from that point forward, I was hearing about nothing but Truth Social. Well, Trump was like on Truth Social, and I'm like, how could I have missed that? But anyway, so Trump was on Truth Social today, just going off. Okay, why? Now, going going off, when I say going off, I'm talking about writing about a lot of different things that a lot of those things did not connect. So what I would say ignited, the anger and the fury was that the UN Security Council, to be specific, held an emergency meeting today about the actions, right, of the United States versus Venezuela. And it was it was sad. It was a sad moment for those of us who have always been proud to say, like, I'm an American. Not, no disrespect to anyone who became an American, none whatsoever, because this country is built upon people that originally came from somewhere else, or this land was called something else, right? When the indigenous, you know, had, I don't, I want to say, uh, a divine ownership, right, of the land. But I've always been proud to say I'm an American. You know, I was born in America. My mother was born in American, so on. My grandmother, so on. Right? Just always been proud because I miss the days when we were the leaders of, of culture, where when we created something as a people, the rest of the world wanted to be a part of that, you know? When we, you know, when we performed and blended these different music genres and made up dances and you know amazing graffiti artists, when it used to just be graffiti for those of us who grew up in the city, right? It used to just be graffiti. And my mom used to say, oh, I wish they would paint over that. And eventually they did, in many cities. And it's beautiful. But these were things that were, hip hop, right? I'm a hip hop generation, right? Hip hop, I miss the days, and they weren't so long ago. They were like about a year ago that our culture, as a blended people, was the world's culture. Why would that be? Because our country was so different in that we welcomed the world. We welcomed that which was the way that this land was truly formed, right? People migrating, coming here for a better life, for opportunity, right? To use the skills here and really make the kind of money that you can take care of your family, when those skills maybe in your country did not generate the kind of salary for you to take care of your family. Yet you're still a doctor, you're still a scientist, right? You're still a physicist. So you could come to America and you could really, really be that, right? And feel like what that accomplishment meant. You know, so that's why I say it was kind of sad to watch, the UN Security Council meeting, because we had nobody on our team, you know. So the representatives, if you've never watched, right, the representatives of the countries, get to speak their facts and opinions, how they feel about certain international, right? Because that's what the UN is there for. That's what the embassies are for, right? So we had nobody on our team. Like we turned into like the person I was when I was in high school, and they were like, okay, who do you want on your team? And though everybody, people liked me, but they knew I couldn't play baseball. Come on now. I have always been myself. And I'm like, so, when they then said she could cheerlead, I said I could do that, you know? But that's what America, that's what it felt like watching the United States, first of all, try to represent itself. Marco Rubio spoke. I think he might have been the only person, but our representative, of course, spoke. I mean, when this administration, sends three people to speak for the United States. I mean, it was like the one guy, let me see. I'm so professional. The one guy, but this particular gentleman is our official representative, right, of the president, and so on. But I mean, they don't even have his name on here. But okay, he spoke, and then Marco Rubio. All right. Now, it was literally like they took the script, and when it's your turn, they just pass it over. And I'm listening, and I'm kind of like, but I'm really hearing the same thing. Now, am I supposed to be hearing the same thing? I mean, I don't know. But you're two different people, and I expect to hear something different or something more. Something, maybe you go into more detail, etc. But basically, it was like the same thing, right? Which the same thing really, told on itself. Wherever there's oil, there's a problem. Wherever there's resources, there's a problem. Like America has a problem. Okay? But especially that resource we call oil, right? We America, not, saying we personally, because we know it's not personal for us, but it's personal for our government, especially this one, right? That wants to own everybody else's resources, right? Especially if that resource is called oil. So in this UN Security Council meeting, basically it was like we spoke, and then every other country got up and said, we don't want you on our team. We're not on your team. We don't agree with that move. We're asking you, particularly, I heard this um from China. It's funny. Russia's representative, it's a little funny. Um, but she was speaking the truth, particularly those two countries. Now, other countries spoke, but I didn't see it from beginning to end. That they want the ex-president of Venezuela and his wife, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife Celia Flores, right? They want them immediately released from federal jail. And I heard that a couple times from both of them, from China's representative and Russia, right? Also, Greenland spoke, because Greenland is also a target now. You know, I don't like being a part of a team in which we we have a leader or someone who in sports they would say, right, the VIP, or they have another term for that. I'm not a sports girl too much. But the major player, that without that person it's probably hard to win. Right? MVP, most valuable, was most valuable player, right? So I feel like I'm a part of a team that has no one with the skills to be the most valuable player. And in the United States, the most valuable player is supposed to be the citizens. That's what made us stand out, right? Stand up. Was that the MVP was us, right? So it it was sad to me to listen to other countries, like we don't even we like we I don't want to touch that. Don't put my name in that. You know how we say? Don't put my name in that. Keep my name out your mouth. Okay? That's how I feel. Keep my name out your mouth. Because my birth certificate says citizen of the United States, or however they word it. I have it here. Oh, I have it. I'm starting to carry that thing everywhere now. You know what I mean? I'm starting to carry it everywhere. If I get a chance to even show it. Yeah. So what you know uh, my dear sister in Japan, we were talking about the color purple, not the movie or the play, but the literal color purple, right? Literal color of purple. And she was giving me some historic and cultural Japanese history about that color. And I loved it, you know. I didn't know it, but intuitively I felt it. I feel it when I look at the color purple, right? And I she sent a picture of, one of my favorite actors, Shamar Moore, right? Of SWAT, and before that, Criminal Minds, right? You can look him up. It'll be a treat. Okay. But Shamar Moore had on a purple t-shirt, really purple, true purple. But I also noticed the words on it, and it said, "Be kind." And it's like we have created all of this complexity. We have like tripled up on the complexity of what it means to be citizens of anywhere, but especially here because that's where I am and it's what I know. But we have made it so complicated. And those two simple words could change this whole thing around. But you must have the capability to be kind. You must be capable, right? Or it's like asking, it's like asking my four-door sedan to drive on three wheels. It's not its fault if I ask it to do that and it doesn't work, right? It's my fault. So when you are addressing someone who not only does not have the ability to be kind, but also does not see the value in being kind. There's no value. It's like, what can I do with that? What can I buy with that? Oh well, nothing. Okay. But that's not really true unless you have tried it to see what kindness can bring to your life. And it has nothing to do with being weak. I know that. I know that. It has nothing to do with being weak. Sometimes it takes everything that we have within us to be kind in certain moments and really express it in a way that the person understands. Listen, what I'm saying you might not like, but I'm saying it out of kindness because I just want you to know, or I want you to know me, or I want to know you more, like for real. Like, so being kind is nothing weak. And so that's, that's my hope for 2026, and also that we can get into some different conversations, right? As well. Some different conversations, because my goal, the spirit of this particular news program, is that I am taking all of these stories, political and the celebrity stories, the pop culture stories, and I'm learning how they connect to the condition of the collective. I'm going to say that again. I am using all these stories, political, celebrity news, pop culture, and I'm using them to learn how to connect that behavior or lack thereof, to measure the collective feelings and spirit of all of us, because it's never just about them. It's about people, women, men, babies, children, black, white, Asian, Latino, Latinx, the LGBTQ community. It's about all of us. So we can't just examine one person's behavior, because it all reflects something bigger and larger. And I'll be making those connections, because I have some people in my life that are like, oh, why are you watching this? Or, the feeling is, there's nothing like friendly judgment, right? That don't even go together. There's nothing like friendly judgment. And I'm like, I can learn from anything. That's when you're in your power. A television show is not going to turn me into anything but that which I already am. But if you don't know who you are, I'd be afraid to. Anyway, y'all, I thank anybody and everybody that listened today. This is Still Woke News. And remember, that was our word. Okay? The woke people, the awakening. Those of us a part of the awakening. How are we going to let somebody else take it and make it seem like it's a bad thing and then we don't want to use it? No, I'm woke. which is the opposite of asleep. I'll see y'all on Wednesday. Peace, love, and light. Bye.